Hello, faithful listeners. Welcome to the second edition of Kill the Clock's basketball podcast. I'm your host, Shaheen Koigani, and with us is a stacked panel of people who think they know basketball. Our first guest is Majid Maro. Say hi, Maj.
I know nothing about basketball.
Our second guest is Richie Rahal. Say hi.
Hey, guys.
Ravneet Singh.
What's up?
And Anhad Singh.
Yo.
All right, let's get into it. Let's talk about the All-NBA honors. Let me read off the list for all three teams. Starting with the first team: Kevin Durant, LeBron James, Joakim Noah, James Harden, and Chris Paul. The second team: Blake Griffin, Kevin Love, Dwight Howard, Steph Curry, and Tony Parker. Oui. The NBA third team: Paul George, LaMarcus Aldridge, Al Jefferson, Goran Dragic, and Damian Lillard. All right, let's start with Richie. Do you have any problems with any of those teams? You could talk about omissions, people who you feel like are deserving, undeserving. Let's start with you.
Yeah, the All-NBA honors, they seem, for the most part, what we were expecting. Obviously, LeBron and Durant are at the top, but there were some omissions that actually kind of caught my eye. I'll just put one out there. It was kind of a stacked All-NBA team for forwards, but I was still surprised that, Melo wasn't on there. That's just me personally, but do you guys have any other maybe omissions that would surprise you?
John Wall is one. Statistically, he was second highest steals getter per game at 8.8, and fourth
he got 8 steals a game?
Sorry, assists. My bad. And fourth highest in steals at 1.82. So statistically, he looked good, almost an elite point guard this season, and he was not in there, which begs the question that there can be only 6 point guards and 6 forwards, right?
Or six guards.
Oh, yeah, sorry, 6 guards and 6 forwards. Is John Wall top 6 for this season? And is Carmelo Anthony top 6 forward for this season?
I think John Wall was a top point guard in the East, but then the West just had a lot of good guards. I mean, there's Steph Curry, CP3, Dragic, and Bledsoe. I mean, it's just really, really stacked, I guess. I guess it also brings up the question of, I know Richie was mentioning Carmelo before. I guess the question is, if you're on a bad team, do you still, and have a great season, do you still deserve to be on an All-NBA team?
Well,
yeah.
What do you mean by a bad team, though?
Like, for example, the Knicks or with Carmelo, like he got omitted, and I think if his team, I mean, he had similar stats to what he did last year, and the Knicks were the second seed last year, but he made an All-NBA team, and this year he didn't, even though he had the same stats. So are we like not looking at his production, and we're looking at the team's production too much?
Yeah, I think it's the narrative that gets constructed, right? That his team doesn't make the playoffs, therefore it's clear that he had a bad season or that he had, a substandard season. If you look at the 15 players on the All-NBA team, I don't have the list in front of me, but to my knowledge, Kevin Love's the only one who Kevin Love and Dragic, right? The only two who played for lottery teams. So there's a strong bias in favor of players who play on good teams. And even Love and Dragic's team, the Timberwolves and Suns were better than the Knicks. It was just it was a circus in New York, quite frankly. And unfortunately, Carmelo kind of got the raw end of that deal when it came to voting for end of year awards.
But how much is that, would you think, would go into a voter's mind? Because a voter has to pick out the top 6 forwards. Okay, nobody's arguing with Durant and LeBron. Blake Griffin had a great season. Kevin Love did have a great season too, and LaMarcus Aldridge and Paul George were stars of their team, right? So I think by default, Carmelo Anthony just falls to the 7th spot.
Yeah, I think there's a case for Carmelo in the top 6, and there's a case for him to be not in the top 6. But the one thing to remember is that for a lot of these voters, there is an inextricable link between team success and player success. The formulation is often you are only successful and you are only worthy of these awards if you lead your team, right? The important phrasing is leading your team. The perception is that Carmelo was somehow inadequate in terms of carrying his team to where they thought he should have carried them. And in doing this, they ignored a lack of supporting cast and, the lack of general team infrastructure to support winning.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting that you bring up the whole team success thing, because I actually think it's more prevalent in the All-Star game.
Okay.
Reward the teams that play the best by picking their players to be on the All-Star team. Whereas in the All-NBA selection, I'm not sure if that's necessarily as big of a case. The reason why I say that is because I look at players like Dragic and Al Jefferson, who weren't on the All-Star team, but because of how well their teams played with relation to the expectations set forth for their teams, they made it onto the All-NBA teams. And I kind of feel like in terms of the All-NBA selection, the expectations and, exceeding them and all along the lines of those is what really kind of gives those players.
Yeah. It definitely changes the narrative around those teams and around those players.
So other than Wall and Melo, does anyone have a problem with these three teams?
Well, I was going to point something out about Al Jefferson. I think he's not recognized enough within the media, but I think DeMarcus Cousins had a better season. He had at least top 7 PER, and he was snubbed off because the Kings didn't do anything this year either, and the Bobcats made the playoffs. So I would like him to make a case for Cousins too.
Yeah, Boogie was 5th at 26.1 in the PERs.
I'd probably put Boogie on the third team over Jefferson, but let's not take away. See, here's the thing with all these teams, right? If you leave someone out, or if you swap someone, then everyone's deserving, right? Carmelo Anthony, John Wall. John Wall to me should be on one of these lists. I would probably take out Lillard at the very least. If these are just preferences, for the most part, I think everyone on this list was deserving for all three teams. But if I had to nitpick, I would probably take Parker off the second team. I'd probably put James Harden on the second team, swap him with Curry. So Curry and Paul. Yeah, there you go. That's a nice backcourt. And then for the third team, I'd probably put in. I'd consider Anthony Davis because he was an absolute stud this year.
But his team didn't do that well.
Oh, and I forgot. I'd put John Wall on the second team because I thought he was a top 4 point guard.
Yeah, and even with Davis, right? There's the notion of players getting credit for being on teams that exceeded expectations. The Pelicans came nowhere near expectations given the acquisition of Drew Holiday and Tyreek Evans, and it's unfortunate they dealt with a lot of injuries. Even Anthony Davis wasn't healthy for all season, but clearly you can make a case that Anthony Davis is already in the conversation for top 6 forward or top 3 center in the league.
Absolutely.
So you're saying if Pelicans made the playoffs, Anthony Davis would be on the third team, maybe second?
Maybe second. I think there's a chance that he might edge out, Kevin Love, to be honest. And I don't think he's a better player than Kevin Love, but I think in the minds of the voters, the Pelicans making the playoffs may have been sufficient to fuel that pro Davis sentiment.
I don't know if he could replace the forwards. I was thinking more on the lines of him going as a center.
Well, he could. He's. If we're, he could play either position, but I think ideally you'd want him as a 4, and I think these voters would probably vote him as a forward instead of a center.
Right, because I don't have the lineup stats in front of me, but my thinking is that he was like at least the nominal 4. I would say at least 2/3 of the time. Right,
I believe that's correct. I think they had when Ryan Anderson was healthy, they had him as a stretch 4 with Davis as the 5, and that was one of the worst defensive lineups in the league, for whatever reason.
If I recall correctly, it was still one of the better offensive lineups, though.
It was extremely good offensive lineup because you had Ryan Anderson and he's a stud. So and then you had Eric Gordon healthy, Drew Holiday. I mean, that's actually a pretty good 5. But I mean, the replacement was Alexei Ajinka. Come on, Ajinsa. See, I don't even know how to say his name.
Yeah, it's not important.
Yeah.
He's gigantic, though.
He is a big
He's
dude.
a big guy, yeah, with a lot of length and not much else.
So another thing that we should factor in, I know this doesn't really count for much for the voting, but what if players were healthy? You would expect to see Russell Westbrook in, right?
Probably in a second team, yeah.
Also Marc Gasol too, probably.
Maybe in the third team, probably he would probably take out Al Jefferson, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
What baffles me is that Marc Gasol got 2 first-team votes after having played only 59 games.
Yeah.
I want to know who those 2 people are and whether or not they live in Memphis.
Well, if we're nitpicking about votes, we should also point out that someone voted LeBron Griffin ahead of him.
Right. That's just ridiculous.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. But I want to make an argument for Marc Gasol real quick, and then
Sure.
we can change topics. When he came back, Memphis were, I think before he came back, they were like the 10th seed, I want to say, and no one was expecting them to get the 8th seed, and then when he came back, they made a run for it and they got that 8th seed. So,
Totally different team.
yeah, completely different.
No, I get that. Like, Marc Gasol is a fantastic player, and if he played, the same number of minutes as, say, Joakim Noah, I would understand a vote in his favor. Mm-hmm. But, 59 games is just too few for me, especially when he's not the clear-cut best center in the league.
Quick shout out to Joakim Noah, first team all
Joakim!
and first team all defense.
Yeah,
what was he in MVP voting again?
4th, I want to say.
Ooh. He had a great year. I mean, and I think, in watching Chicago this year, he was their primary distributor and facilitator and center. I mean, the offense ran through him. A lot of high-low action with him and Taj Gibson. It was just beautiful to watch. I mean, if they had Derrick Rose, I would have thought they would have made a nice run. And also, I want to point out, actually, do you guys want to talk about free agency, like right now?
One final shout out before DeMar DeRozan.
DeMar.
Great year.
And he's gonna get better.
Fantastic
Still
season.
about 25 years old, right?
King of the North.
Yeah. I think him and Kyle Lowry just carried that team. They were so close to making it to the next round.
What's the opposite of a shout out? How do I diss someone? What's that called?
Turn down.
Turn down for what?
I don't know. Well, no. I mean, I'm just making things up.
I don't know. All right. Well, okay.
I think we're showing our dirtiness to everyone.
The opposite of shout is whisper. So whisper in.
All right. I want to whisper in. Damian Lillard is overrated.
I mean, you get no arguments from me. His defense is pretty close to atrocious, and he doesn't really know how to be a point guard yet. That's a bit too much. He knows how to be a point guard, but he's not in the same ilk as some of the people he's been mentioned with.
I'll be honest. When I was looking over the All NBA roster, that was the kind of name that jumped out at me. Like, he's on here? Really? He's on here.
I think they had to explain away. I think they had to explain away Portland's success somehow, and the narrative that was formed was, Aldridge and Lillard were, was this two-headed monster.
Well, Aldridge wasn't enough.
No, apparently not.
Jeez, and see, that's just baffling that John Wall is not on any of these teams. Again, that kid is an absolute stud. Well, how is he not on any of these teams? Take Tony Parker off, or Damian Lillard. I mean, come on. Let's acknowledge the young and up-and-coming players. Oh, I mean, I know Damian Lillard is, but he's just too bad defensively for me to put him over Wall,
But putting players in this team is not, rewarding young players for what they've done. It's just choosing the best players. I don't want to make that argument that certain player was not given enough credit. Let's put him into the team, right?
Yeah.
Hey, was it a better player this year? I think John Wall had a better season than Lillard too, and I think there was an argument that Lillard shouldn't have even been an All-Star. I think Dragic outplayed him by the All-Star break at least. And
that's the All-Star voting, which that was a while ago, but I had problems with that too. Yeah, for sure.
Okay, let's kind of change the topic now to the finals, and then if we have time, we'll go to free agency and trade rumors. But Who do you guys have in the finals? I mean, it's going to be an interesting rematch. It was probably one of the best finals last year that in recent memory. And
Well, okay. I want to bet on Miami just because they seem like the underdog right now, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, they are the underdog.
Yeah, but I mean, Vegas has them as the underdog, and I kind of want to bet some money on them because I just don't want I don't want to bet against LeBron. Although I will acknowledge that San Antonio has been the best team this season.
Absolutely. How many games, Shaheen? How many games?
Oh, if you put a gun to my head, I'm gonna say San Antonio in 7.
Okay.
But you know what? I just
I just want to mention one thing. The format this year is 2-2-1-1-1.
Right.
Right. It's back to normal, so to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And San Antonio has home court too.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think I'm gonna go ahead and just say Heat in 6. I don't see them winning in Game 7 in San Antonio. My head says Heat, but my heart says Spurs. They've just been playing so well. I'd love for them to see them win it. But I mean, the Heat still have LeBron. Like, you can't deny that.
You could deny that with Kawhi.
you really can't.
Only so much. Only so much.
Only so much. Only so much.
Majid, who do you got in the finals?
See, I'm with Shaheen. The Spurs are the better team. They've proven it all season. I really don't have much reason to prefer the Heat other than the fact that they have LeBron. But I'll mention this. On Twitter, one of my followers was saying he's a Heat fan. He's seen 96% of every Heat game over the last 3 seasons, and that this is the most focused he's seen the Heat at any point during that span.
Ooh.
Yeah, he's supremely confident about this series, which kind of baffled me because this is, in my estimation, the worst the Heat have been since the Big Three was assembled, other than 2011 when they lost to Dallas. So with that said, I have to pick the Spurs, 7 games. But I'm also keeping in mind what this guy on Twitter was saying. I have to lend some credence to it since he's seen literally every game they've played, or close to every game they've played.
I mean, just talking about focus, could the focus come from the fact that they know that they've actually deteriorated a bit physically over the years? They've got so much miles on them, so they need to, step up another notch using something else, and that something else could be just mental strength. Could that be a result of what the guy's saying?
Maybe. And another thing is the health of Dwayne Wade, right? I think Dwayne Wade, while healthy, is mentally a different person, and his presence carries a lot of weight in the locker room. It wasn't often the case last season or the year before that Wade would be, present for every practice, would be participating in all the drills. I think that makes a difference, and it kind of allows them to have more continuity, more chemistry while they're playing.
Anhad, who do you got in the finals?
Spurs fan.
Well, I'm a Spurs fan, but I'll admit I'm not always super confident that my team's gonna pull through. But this time I'm fairly confident that we're gonna win, and I think we're gonna win in the 6th game.
Okay.
Wow,
okay.
No Ray Allen threes this time around.
Somebody will make sure. Somebody will make sure.
They'll just blow them out Game 6. They won't have to worry about the
Okay, over under on how many times they're going to show that throughout the series.
Oh my God.
Probably every game.
200.
Yeah. under 200.
I'm going over on that one. I'll take your action on that.
All right. Okay. I'll take that action for sure.
100.
Okay. So let me talk about a few things. Number one, a little bit of trash talking or perceived trash talking going on between Duncan and LeBron. I know it's kind of funny because Duncan, it doesn't strike me as a guy who trash talks, but after the 6th game, after they closed out the Thunder, he said, "We're gonna get 4 more games, and we're gonna do it this time."
We'll do it this time. That's like such strange phrasing too. Not only is Duncan the type to kind of be hush about stuff like that, just never reveal to the media what his actual thoughts and feelings are, but it was kind of like Heisenbergian in a sense. Right? Like, Walter White carried himself with so much confidence. Like, Jesse Pinkman, we're going to go in there, we're going to, accomplish what we're set out to accomplish. Tim Duncan just, brazen, guns out. We will do it this time. That was the most unexpected thing to me.
Wait, is that just confidence or is that trash talk? I think there's a difference.
It's a confidence, I think, really.
I think a lot of the Spurs players are more confident this year. As a fan, I'm more confident about my team's chances. In the backup, from the bench, Patty Mills has emerged like so far in this season. He's been instrumental throughout the regular season. Danny Green's grown as a player. Kawhi Leonard had a really good season. So Manu Ginobili, he had a much better season than last season, right? He's been fitter. He lost, I think, 5 or 10 pounds. So all in all, there are good things happening in this team as opposed to. Sorry?
He can't play any worse than he did in the finals last year. He has to play better. And
Exactly.
That's a huge factor, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think his turnover rate last finals was like 22.
Oh, gosh.
And
Yeah.
to his credit, he has been playing much, much better this playoffs.
Although he's been a bit inconsistent.
Yeah, I would say so. He's always been kind of inconsistent.
He's like a boomer bust player.
Yeah, you get moments of, his whole career, moments of brilliance, like just unbelievable vision and passing, and then you see him try to force the issue and get turnovers. I mean, that's the kind of player he's been. I'm not taking anything away from him. Manu Ginobili I maintain this. He's one of the most underrated players ever.
Ginobili.
I mean,
Better than
in terms
Kobe.
of, yeah, okay, as a
Better
two-way
than-
player, there is a case for him being better than Kobe. Maja,
Yes.
do you want to get into that for a second? I know you've told me that before.
Now we're gonna save this for another time.
Oh, okay. All right. That's a little teaser for all our viewers out there. Yes, Manu Ginobili, according to Majid Morrow, is better than Kobe Bryant as a two-way player.
And just staying on Spurs for a moment, you also have to give a shout out to Boris Diaw. In the words of Stephen A. Smith, the guy who makes him look like he has an 8-pack, because he comes in with big shots at like the clutchest of times. So.
Boris Diaw has bigger tits than Kate Upton.
True.
I heard another term of endearment for him. I think it was a Grantland article maybe, but they called him a chubby futon. Because he was so versatile.
Are futons really versatile though? They really serve two purposes: bed, couch.
Yeah. So wait.
They're cheap, so you don't mind breaking them as opposed to a sofa.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I don't think Popovich is necessarily worried about minutes allocations to Diaw. Like I'm sure he's just trotting him out there whenever he feels like it.
Yeah.
I want to say something about the confidence of each fan that we mentioned. I know Anhad's a Spurs fan, and you said you were confident, but it seems that that's kind of hard to do when Parker missed the last game or last half of the last game, and he couldn't even cut on it, and it seems like he might have a minutes restriction, and he's had injuries this whole year, so. And he's you guys' best player too.
Yeah. Everything that we just talked about was under the assumption that Tony Parker will be healthy. Of course, we don't have a word on that. Can Patty Mills and Corey Joseph do it by themselves? I'm not gonna put my money on that. And of course, without Tony Parker, I probably might see the Heat win. That's as far as I'm gonna go, actually.
Yeah, that's the biggest question right now is Tony Parker's health going into this series. I mean, if he's not gonna play games, I mean, I take the Heat winning the series.
Yeah.
But if he is healthy, I mean, the Spurs to me this year have looked so focused after their failure last year that I just don't see them losing. But on the other side of the court is the best player in the game. And as Majid said, one of his Twitter followers said, if they've been the most focused that he's ever seen them. I think some of that is experience. I think they've been here before. This is their fourth finals. I think they know what's up. They know what they have to do. And Dwayne Wade is not hobbled like he was, like we were talking about him being last year. So he's fine. I mean, until he takes a bad fall or something. But I mean, I think the biggest two things is the home court advantage for the Spurs and Tony Parker's health. And And also, I just want to point out this: Danny Green is not going to go ham again.
He might. I mean, if they leave him open.
I think they'll learn from their mistakes last year, and they won't let it happen as often as they had let it happen last year.
Yeah, I can't imagine him doing that again.
Not if they leave him open?
Well, last year in the finals, game 6 and 7, they made sure to close out on him, and he didn't have the same production as he did in game.
I don't know.
He still set an NBA Finals record in threes.
I would say he had a fair number of open looks those games too. He just missed them.
I don't know. I feel like Wade closed him out, but I guess we would have to go back to double check.
I think they did a slightly better job, but the thing is, you have to be on your P's and Q's when you're defending the Spurs at all times because just their offense is designed to get those looks.
Right. If it's not Green getting those looks, it's someone else who could hit down threes.
Yeah. Bellinelli wasn't even on the team last year.
Bellinelli has been invisible, by the way, which I think
That's true.
I think Manu has to step up in this series because Bellinelli was kind of brought in to be the insurance for Ginobili, but Ginobili's had a fantastic season, so he needs to step up in the finals. I expect him to step up in the finals and be an instrumental part of the Spurs. But I can't really say anything about Bellinelli. He's been invisible this whole playoff. So.
Well, that's also because of minutes restriction. He hasn't gotten many minutes.
Quick question. How many minutes do you see Rashard Lewis getting in this series? Because he played a big role in the Indiana series, and I see, a lot of merit in giving him some minutes, some of the similar number of minutes in this one.
He's got that experience, too.
Right. And you might see him as, able to defend Diaw.
Yeah, I was about to say, yeah.
Maybe Duncan for small stretches, though, he'll probably get roasted by him over an extended period.
I think if the Spurs want to go big, then he's not going to get that much time. But if they go small like they did last year and have Kawhi at the 4, he could get about 15 minutes per game, I think. He stretches the floor well for them. But if you have Duncan on Lewis, he's going to take advantage of that all day.
Well, here's the thing. Indiana was going big, and Miami combated that with Lewis. They had him on David West. How do you feel about Rashard covering Thiago Splitter? Because Splitter is more or less an offensive non-entity when it comes to scoring. The only issue that you run into is length when it comes to rebounds.
Right, it could work. I mean, when Miami went small and Indy didn't, it hurt them. Right, if a team goes small, a good way to counter is to also go small. But I mean, I guess we'll see what happens.
The Spurs can go small if Miami wants to go small. I mean, they have the flexibility with it. They go 10 deep. I mean, they could bring out any number of rotations to counter Miami. I think it'll be very interesting to see what Spoelstra does. I mean, is he going to give Rashard Lewis a lot of minutes? How much is Chris Anderson going to be? I think Chris Anderson has to have a big part in this series. Guarding Duncan and Splitter.
And keep in mind that Chris Anderson, Birdman, he's injured right now. I think he's a thigh bruise. Is that right, or is it a knee injury?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that might play a factor.
Birdman. He's grounded.
Over and under on the Greg Oden minutes.
Yeah. Good question. 20.
Over and under on how many knees will explode?
6.
How many knees does he still have left?
0.
6,000.
Oh man. Yeah. I don't expect him to play much, but I'll be very surprised if he does.
Over under minutes that LeBron plays without a headband.
0.
Okay.
No. At the very end of the game, he'll be pissed when it comes flying off, and then all of a sudden LeBron just goes ham.
Do you think he purposely does it? Like one game he's like, oh, I got to play better. Here comes headband.
DeMarcus Cousins does that.
DeMarcus Cousins, he would do that. Like that's just the most DeMarcus Cousins thing to do.
As soon as it comes off, temperamental Cousins comes out. Yeah.
Going Super Saiyan, he just takes off the headband and becomes a completely different person.
It's like the Hulk going green, right?
Wait. What do we got for predictions? Okay, so Majid, who you got?
Okay, so I'm Spurs in 7, but I really feel bad about betting against LeBron.
Okay. Anhad, who do you got?
I said Spurs in 6, but I'm actually going to change it. I'm going to say if everyone's healthy, I think Spurs are going to do it in 5.
Whoa!
That's
Yeah.
the only guy predicting Spurs in
Yeah.
five.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think I'm just like having this mental picture in my mind in which how things could go, and I see us being favored a lot. However, if injuries trouble us, then it could very well be Miami.
Right. Okay. All right.
Biased.
Richie, what do you got?
I'm gonna stick with it and say Heat in 6, but I would really like the Spurs to win in 7.
Rodney.
My head says Heat, my heart says Spurs.
Rodney.
Yeah, same. I'm gonna say Spurs. I'm sorry. I'm gonna say Heat in 6 also. I don't agree with that other Heat fan, Majid, that you were talking about, who said that they were playing the best basketball in a while.
Well, he wasn't saying they're playing the best.
He said they
were
looked the
most
most
focused.
Yeah, the focus.
But I think the implication was that they might play their best as a result of that. So, okay. Go on.
Maybe. Okay.
Let me give one last word on this. The Heat are looking at themselves right now as underdogs. In Vegas, they're underdogs, and which is why I think I'm going to bet some money on them. But anyways, I think this could do psychologically. This could be huge for them. They're tired of hearing that the Spurs gave away the finals last year. They probably view it as, oh, we made more plays than them, we deserve to win. It was, by all accounts, it was a very close series, and all they've been hearing leading up to this game tomorrow is that the Spurs gave it away, that they choked, and that the Heat they don't feel like they're getting the due recognition. That psychologically, that could be huge for them. They could come out with some serious fire. So I don't know, man. I think I'm gonna bet on Miami.
Also, what the Heat have been hearing for a while is that Indiana wanted home court. LOL.
Oh, hey, they were at home for Game 7.
Oh yeah. But yeah, I actually do agree with what Shane said. I think it's up to the coaches to sort of frame the right psychological setup for their individual teams. I think Spurs they had to recover from Game 6 last year, and that's what's going to fuel their drive. Miami have a drive too. They want to do a three-peat. LeBron wants to build his legacy, and they could not get the number 1 seed in the East. So Eric Spoelstra will probably have a lot of ammunition to fuel his team. Just psychologically speaking.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna end it now, and we'll save all the draft talk and trade rumors talk for another time. Thank you guys for joining us on Kill the Clock.
Peace.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Birdman.
Okay, that was
Odin.
Shout out to Pierre Jackson.
Greg Oden, Finals MVP, calling it now.